Welcome to Barcelona and the final round of the 2016 Euro Formula Open. We should be in for a fantastic race to bring the 2016 campaign to a close around the technical challenge, home of the Spanish Grand Prix, the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya, which concludes a summer-long tour around some of Europe's finest circuits. Well, hello from Ben Evans as you join us on a cloudy and chilly day here at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. Overnight thunderstorms washed the track clean, and qualifying this morning was very close as a result, but it was headed by Ferdinand Habsburg, who will start from pole, having taken victory in yesterday's race after Dorian Boccolacci won on the road, but the contact between Boccolacci and Herta mid-race resulted in the 5-second penalty for the Frenchman, and that elevated Ferdinand Habsburg for his second victory of the season. It promoted Colton Herta to second place, and the American driver will line up from that position on the grid as well in his Carling car. The champion, Leonardo Pulcini, will start from third. So Colton Herta yesterday just didn't get quite as good a start as he would have liked, and that allowed him to get jumped off the line, challenged by Ferdinand Habsburg. Herta then took the lead, but was requested to give it back, at which point Boccolacci got past Habsburg and it all got rather complicated. But nonetheless, it was one of the better races that we've had this year. Really good dicing amongst the leading group of cars, although not involving Leonardo Pulcini after the Italian picked up a broken front wing on the first lap of the race. So whilst the Euro Formula Open Championship has been decided in favour of Leonardo Pulcini, the Spanish Formula 3 Championship is going down to the wire today, with Pulcini, Habsburg and Herta all in contention to claim the Spanish F3 crown. For Herta to win it, well, he needs to win the race and hope that Pulcini and Habsburg are very low down in the points. It's much the same for Ferdinand Habsburg, although a second place finish for him could just pip him the title. But Leonardo Pulcini, a good drive from the Italian, should be enough to crown him the double champion in the Spanish and Euro Formula Open Championships this year. So 3 giants of Spanish motorsport there. Conversely on the grid, Jesus Perez, Luis Perez Sala and Jaime Alguersuari, as Ferdinand Habsburg runs down the grid to take his spot on pole position. There's Trevor Carlin, it's the right of your pitch, the principal of the Carlin Motorsport team. We've had a very, very strong debut year in the Euro Formula Open, but it's the DriveX car of Ferdinand Habsburg which rolls to a halt to start from pole position, overseen this weekend by Pedro de la Rosa, the former McLaren and Arrows and HRT racer. And Habsburg, having made his Euro Formula Open debut a year ago here in Barcelona, rookie champion this year, is going to take second in the championship as well. He might also sneak the Spanish F3 championship as well if results swing in his favour. So the DriveX team just getting to work on the grid. Habsburg poised and relaxed in the cockpit. He really does enjoy his racing, Ferdinand Habsburg. And this coming to the end of a very busy season for the Austrian. Colton Herta then second place, third in the championship. The American has had 3 victories this year, and when he has been able to break clear at the front of the field, he's been absolutely untouchable. As the year has gone on, his racecraft has improved exponentially. For Leonardo Pulcini, it's been an absolutely fantastic season for the Italian driver in the Campos team. Pulcini has had 7 victories so far in 2016. Can he round the year off with an 8th? Fourth on the grid for Anthony Ptak in the RP Motorsport car, and great to see the Polish driver once more to the sharp end of the field. Ptak victorious at Silverstone, where he's also scored his only other podium of the season, but has had great turns of pace throughout the year. Tatiana Calderon lines up in 5th in the second of the RP Motorsport Challenges. The Colombian, just 1 podium to her credit. That came at the Red Bull Ring in September. Well, from 5th, Calderon could well progress. 6th on the grid for Dorian Boccolacci, yesterday's winner on the road in the Teo Martin Motorsport car. French driver immediately at the front of the field this weekend. 7th on the grid is the second of the Drive Eccentrics. That is Vasily Romanov in the orange liveried Drive Eccentric. The Russian has been let down a little bit by his qualifying, but shown great race pace. 8th on the grid for Diego Menchaca. 4th in the championship standings, and he should be able to secure 4th in the championship if he finishes ahead of Damiano Fioravanti this afternoon. 9th on the grid for Kevin Andres in the second of the Carlin cars, and Kevin having his best result of the year to date in race 1 with 5th place finish, and then completing the top 10. Tanart Sathien Thirikul, the RP Motorsport driver, has had a occasionally frustrating season, but he is 7th in the standings. And then 11th for Damiano Fioravanti. And Fioravanti will be hoping to progress up from the 6th row of the grid, and he should be able to do that. Twelfth on the grid, Amaya Vaidyanathan, who completes the Carlin Challenge. And then Javier Lovra making his international or Euro Formula Open debut this weekend. Lovra, another of the Teo Martin Motorsport Challengers. Here's the grid in full then. Ferdinand Habsburg and Colton Herta on row 1 from Leonardo Pulcini, and Anthony Ptak on row 2. Row 3, Tatiana Calderon and Dorian Boccolacci, and then Vasily Romanov and Diego Menchaca on row 4. The top 10 completed by Kevin Andres and Tanart Sathien Thirikul, and then it's Damiano Fioravanti and Amaya Vaidyanathan on the 6th row. Row 7, Javier Lovra and Nikita Zlobin, the Teo Martin Motorsport teammates, then Candice Kasiri and Daniel Pranenko on row 8, ahead of surely a frustrated Julio Moreno in 17th, with Gulhaizen Abdullayev completing the field in his Campos car. So that's how they line up. It is a 17-lap race. The grid is just about cleared. We've got one mechanic working on a car towards the tail end of the field. I think that's possibly Daniel Pranenko and the BVM team, as the signal is given to start the cars up. So the engines fire into life. 17 laps around the circuits Barcelona and Catalunya awaits. Although if we do have a safety car, then it is a 35-minute timed race. Seconds away from the formation lap ahead of the final race of the Euro Formula Open season. Thank you very much for joining us in Barcelona today, and we should be in for another great race. Ferdinand Habsburg and Colton Herta, an all-rookie front row, just ahead of our champion Leonardo Pulcini and Anthony Ptak on row 2. And this could be a very interesting first lap, because The heavy rain overnight has left the track somewhat slicker than it was yesterday, and in the preceding race of the Southdown Euro Cup, we saw a lot of cars falling off at the first turn where they just suddenly ran out of grip. So this is the chance for the drivers to inspect the track conditions, get a little bit of heat into the control compound Michelin tyre that they are all using. Of course, as ever in the Euro Formula Open, they're all equipped with the Dallara F312 chassis. They run with a control engine supplied by the championship promoter GT Sport, who also provide a number of the other components on the car, which help to keep the costs affordable. Now, a point of note this weekend, as it was last weekend in Jerez, is the new Dallara F312 front wing end plates that are being used here by the Euro Formula Open field, and you can see that they're just that scooped shape, aiding the airflow around the car. There's a close-up of it on Dorian Boccolacci's car, and from the evidence that we've had so far as well, it's allowing them to follow a little bit closer to each other than possibly the previous configuration. There you see the championship position, and it is likely to remain relatively stable unless Menchaka would have a very bad day and Fioravanti to have a very good one. And there is the possibility as well that Sathian Thirikul could jump Anthony Patak for 6th in the standings. The field climbing out of turn 8 then, and then around turn 9, Diego Menchaka. He'll be keen to finish the season with the podium, having last been on the rostrum at the Red Bull Ring. Then turn 10, one of the prime overtaking opportunities. It's an opportunity just to put a little bit of a heat cycle through the Michelin tyre by getting on the brakes, just warming the tyre. Then they climb out of turns 10 and 11 into this long right-hander at turn 12. Again, the lateral load warms the tyres, applies the G-forces to the drivers as the race goes on. And then down through 13 into the flip-flop chicane at 14 and 15, which is where the front of the field go now, before swinging through the final turn and then ready to take their places on the grid. It's been a very enjoyable year of racing in the Euro Formula Open. Leonardo Pulcini in the event running away with the championship, but we have had some absolutely brilliant contests along the way. Let's hope that the season is going to finish on a high. Ferdinand Hansberg, can he make it a 3rd win of the year? Can Colton Herta score his 4th? Leonardo Pulcini his 8th? Or will somebody else be able to notch up a triumph? We'll find out in a few moments' time. Plenty to discuss with Trevor Carlin in the pit lane, as Golhaizen Abdullayev, Azerbaijani driver, about to take his place at the rear of the grid. The last couple of cars come into position now. We get the green flag waved at the rear of the field. Let's go racing one more time in 2016 as the revs build, the lights are on. They're out and away we go, and Pulcini makes a lightning start from 3rd on the grid and tries to split the front row as they sprint towards turn 1. It's Habsburg who's got the inside line. Pulcini challenges the outside. Herta has dropped to 3rd and Pulcini could well take the lead. He swoops through and takes the advantage as they head through the opening turns. Herta goes to the outside of Habsburg as well and snatches 2nd. The Austrian drops to 3rd. In 4th place it's Patak. 5th is Boccolacci, with Tatiana Calderon slipping down to 6th. But Pulcini just anticipated that brilliantly and has rocketed into the lead. Some screeching of the brakes further back as Weidenheithen darts to the inside of Vasily Romanov, who's lost a little bit of ground in the early running as they swoop down out of turn 5. And the Ter Martin cars running a little bit wide. Picks up the throttle and heads downhill as already at the front of the pack Pulcini, as he has done so often this year, just trying to spread the field through the first lap of the race. Daniel Pranenko again making a fast start. He jinks the inside of Weidenheithen as they head out of turn 9 and then down towards turn 10. Everybody jostling for position. Alhassan Abdullayev's had a good first lap. He's gained 2 places already. As the pack climb uphill into turn 12. Javier Lovrat now under pressure from Abdullayev as the front of the field flip-flops through the chicane to bring the first of 17 laps to a close. And Pulcini's advantage over Herta out towards to second. Ferdinand Habsburg 6/10 adrift from there. Here's where the battle is, though. Damiano Fioravanti drawing alongside Kevin Andres, and Dorian Boccolacci looking to do much the same to Anthony Patak. Vasily Romanov trying to join in that scrap as well as they swoop through the opening brace of turns. Andres just a little bit tentative, and it opens a glimmer of light for Vasily Romanov, who gives some thought to challenging around the outside of the German-American driver. Realises that probably wasn't such a good idea. Backs out to the move as Pulcini looks to break away. Herta and Habsburg can join in battle. Boccolacci trying to clear Anthony Patak. Tanant Sathi and Thirikul trying to move clear of Kevin Andres as well. As Pulcini heads round turn 9, the leading trio some way clear the Polish driver Patak, and he has got queued up behind him Dorian Boccolacci and Diego Menchaca. Boccolacci in particular has had the pace all weekend that he would fancy his chance if he can move ahead of Patak to maybe bridge the gap to the leading trio. Of course, as so often the case, it's one thing to catch the car in front, it's quite another to find your way past, and because of the immense levels of aerodynamic grip from the Zlara F312 chassis, braking distances are terrifyingly short, and therefore opportunities to outbrake your rivals can be few and far between. And Patak has had a good run through the final third of the lap, so he's not going to be under threat from Dorian Boccolacci as they head along the start and finish straight towards the opening complex. On the brakes into turns 1 and 2. No change in the order amongst most of the front runners, indeed most of the field, as Ferdinand Habsburg sets the fastest lap last time around, trying to keep the gap stable to Pulcini. Boccolacci closing up again onto the tail of Anthony Patak. Polish driver runs out pretty wide through turn 4, uses just about every inch of the road. Boccolacci thinks about darting to the inside. It's not quite close enough to challenge. Meanwhile, Kevin Andres being pushed down through the field, loses out to Daniel Pranenko as well. He already lost out to Vasily Romanov and Tanant Sathi and Thirikul. Damiano Fioravanti meanwhile in 8th, tucked up behind Tatiana Calderon. As they run in tandem, they're going to try and close up to this fight for 4th position. Boccolacci in the Teo Martin Motorsport car behind the RP Motorsport entry of Anthony Patak. Oh, and Patak kicks it sideways out of turn 13, being very aggressive behind the wheel. Knows that Boccolacci is going to try and close up through this final sequence, and this has been a good run through the final sector for Dorian Boccolacci. He may well be close enough to challenge along the start and finish straight this time around. Patak bobs and weaves, now moves across the inside of the circuit. Boccolacci draws alongside to the outside, and there's nothing that Anthony Patak can do other than settle in back behind the Frenchman. But Boccolacci's made the move up to 4th. Doesn't put a wheel wrong through the opening couple of turns, and therefore can break away as they climb out of turn 3. Meanwhile, Herta and Habsburg still trying to keep Leonardo Pulcini honest at the front of the field. Tatiana Calderon remains under threat from Damiano Fioravanti. We're on just the 4th lap of the race. Already Boccolacci trying to break clear of Anthony Patak. The gap, though, he's got to close down. It's the best part of 4 seconds. There is Patak pushing on. We've also lost Mayor Weidenreuthen. He has disappeared, I think, at turn 6 or 7. We saw the wave of yellow flags. Yeah, there you see them on the way into turn 7. So Weidenreuthen in trouble, as now Habsburg appreciably closer to Colton Herta. But the key is going to be, and where's Pulcini gone? And Leonardo Pulcini is ailing and has been passed by Herta and Habsburg, so Pulcini has got a problem. The 2016 Euro Formula Open champion had a massive problem somewhere in that second sector, and so this is now the fight for the lead of the race. And there is Pulcini, so he's recovered. Must have just made a mistake somewhere, because he's there in third. He's back up to speed, albeit with Boccolacci now trying to chase him down. So Colton Herta trying to score his 4th victory of the season. He's got Ferdinand Habsburg right behind him though. And now suddenly the complexion of the race changes ever so slightly. Third place though will be enough to secure Leonardo Pulcini the Spanish F3 crown. If he drops much lower than that, it could start to get a little bit more interesting. So there is Pulcini, Boccolacci, Ptak, Menchaca, then Calderon and Fioravanti. Still fighting over 7th place. And they are being joined fairly promptly by Vasily Romanov as well. Here's a look, meanwhile, Javier Lovrat, Julio Moreno almost making contact. Aggressive stuff. So Colton Herta leads on the 5th lap of the final Euro Formula Open race of the season, after a problem for Leonardo Pulcini in the second sector last time around. So these two spent all of yesterday's race fighting. They've been so evenly matched on pace all weekend. And now the American leads the Austrian through the chicane. Both of them fighting at the wheel. Pulcini in third, under threat from Dorian Boccolacci already, as Habsburg tries to get in the toe behind Colton Herta down the start and finish straight. He's not going to be close enough though to challenge this time around. He's probably 2 car lengths or so too far adrift. So it means that Herta doesn't even go offline to defend. There's Pulcini in third, Boccolacci 4th, 5th for Ptak, 6th Menchaca. 7th place, it's anyone's guess, and it's Damiano Fioravanti who moves clear of teammate Tatiana Calderon. So Fioravanti up to 7th, Calderon down to 8th, 9th Vasily Romanov, and Tanart Sathian Thirikul currently completes the top 10. They swoop through turn 4 and then downhill towards turn 5. Calderon not quite close enough to Fioravanti to challenge again, and then as they head out of turn 6, they'll see the wave of yellow flags that have just gone in over at turn 7. Campos Racing Team watching on. We didn't see what happened to Leonardo Pulcini, but he's immediately running at a very good pace, in fact a little bit quicker than the pace of both Herta and Habsburg. But the trick for Colton Herta is if he can break away from Ferdinand Habsburg through this final sector on the lap, it means that he's secure into the main overtaking zone as they head along the start and finish straight. And that's why you're seeing Herta pushing so hard as Habsburg tries to close the gap down as they head out of the final turn. Habsburg is close, but he's not quite close enough to the American. The toe will only do so much, but it's not a stiff headwind today as we had in yesterday's race. Habsburg tries to close up to Herta under the slipstream. He might be close enough to ask the question here, but Habsburg thinks better of it. Still a lot of racing to be done, but Herta runs a little bit wide at turn 1. This is an opportunity now for Ferdinand Habsburg, who looks the outside track at turn 3, and then will maybe tighten it for turn 4, but he's not quite got enough grip. But as they come out of the third turn towards turn 4, again, Colton Herta having to be inch perfect here to keep the Austrian Ferdinand Habsburg behind him. Habsburg certainly close enough to think about a lunge into turn 5. Herta defends at the last moment, snatches a break, doesn't quite run wide. Brilliant dicing. So the pair of them head down through turn 6, on towards turns 7 and 8. The rest of the field streaking through. Now here come the leaders out of turn 8 towards turn 9. Around the right-hander they go. Gap between the pair of them coming down, but all the while as they fight, Pulcini is going to start to reel them in as well. Very aggressive input with the steering wheel from Colton Herta. You can see just how hard he and Ferdinand Habsburg are trying. They know that Pulcini is closing up onto them, and Pulcini 0.8 quicker than Ferdinand Habsburg just through the first sector on this lap alone. So once the Italian gets onto terms, that is going to make the battle very interesting, particularly as Dorian Boccolacci not too far adrift either. Now is Habsburg going to be able to close up onto Herta under the toe this time around? Here come the leading quartet. They complete the 7th lap of the race. 10 to go. Habsburg nestles in the slipstream behind Colton Herta. He's not near enough to the American to threaten him into turn 1. And this time around, there's no hint of a mistake from the American. Herta navigates the right-hander. But look at Pulcini closing up behind them as well in 3rd. Dorian Boccolacci in 4th. Pulcini setting the fastest lap of the race last time round, a 1:40.6 as opposed to a 1:42.3 for the race leaders. And Boccolacci was also a second quicker than leaders as well in 4th. So now we could be in for a real battle royale. But Herta is not going to be an easy man to overhaul. It's Pedro de la Rosa watching from the DriveX pit wall. So you can see that Pulcini is now with the leading duo. It's only going to be a matter of time as well before Boccolacci catches them as well. Into turn 10. The cars run over the bumps. Drivers compressed into the cockpit as the braking pressures push them down. Then push around turn 12. Circuit to Barcelona and Catalunya. Always a track that can be tough on tyres. They're going to have to watch how aggressive they are with that Michelin tyre through the course of the race. There's still a long way to go. We're only just approaching half race distance now. 9 to run. It's across the line. That was an elevation of pace from the leading duo last time round. 1:41s a piece, and they're actually a little bit quicker than Dorian Boccolacci in 3rd. And this is the thing, if they don't squabble with each other, they're immediately able to go that second a lap or so quicker. That takes away the opportunity for Pulcini and certainly for Boccolacci to close in. In 5th place it's Patak, 6th Menchaca, 7th Fiorvanti, 8th Tatiana Calderon, 9th Vasily Romanov, 10th is Tanart Sathi and Thirikul. Again, just a puff on the brakes into turn 5 from Colton Herta. There is the Teo Martin Motorsport car of Dorian Boccolacci. Boccolacci can tantalisingly see the leading trio up the road ahead of him. He knows that they're there. As they head down towards turn 10. Frustrated Kevin Andres there watching on the Carlin pit wall. Both he and teammate Weidenathan, the only 2 casualties that we've had from the race so far. Now this has been a very good lap from Colton Herta. He's done his best middle sector of the race so far. Has actually stretched his advantage over Habsburg and Pulcini. So after that lap where Habsburg was really applying the pressure, Colton Herta has responded superbly. He's put in what effectively amounts to a qualifying lap. And as the American comes across the line, a 1:41.1 matches to the nearest 100th of a second pretty much the pace of the cars behind. So the leading trio shadow boxing with each other as they get on the brakes again for the opening sequence. Pulcini is there watching and waiting. Boccolacci can't close down the 2 seconds that he needs to that leading train. Pulcini and Habsburg can't close down the 4 or so tenths of a second that they need to really threaten the car in front. Here's the fight for 5th. Patak from Menchaca, who's got a little bit of trim hanging off the car. And then Fiorvanti just behind. Damiano Fiorvanti breaking clear of Tatiana Calderon, who's got Vasily Romanov trying to move past her up into 8th place. Romanov currently completing the rookie trophy podium behind Herta and Habsburg. Out of turn 9, the leading trio downhill on the brakes to turn 10. Running up out of 11 into 12. This is where Colton Herta has been so good throughout the course of the race, and it means that there just isn't an opportunity for Ferdinand Habsburg, unless he's really aggressive through the final chicane, to threaten the American as they head down the start and finish straight. For Leonardo Pulcini, he can afford still to watch and wait. There's a lot of racing to be done. 7 to go. They cross the line. They complete the 10th lap. Down the straight, you can appreciate that Habsburg is just 1 or 2 car lengths further back than he was. Pace at the front of the field is relentlessly hot, all in the low 1 minute 41s. But again, for the 3rd lap in succession, Colton Herta was quickest of all. Well, Diego Menchaca, nothing else. I imagine he's going to be fairly distracted by the footbox covering, waving about like that because it's arguably in his line of sight. Not so much through the right-hander, but then as he comes back to the left and onto the straight, you can see it moves back across straight into obscuring his vision. So Menchaca in 6th. He's got Damiano Fioravanti, his rival for 4th in the championship, just behind him. It's the leading group of cars head down towards turn 10. Habsburg jettisons a tear off. And Colton Herta continues to press on. Now, the question being, of course, has he pushed too hard on that Michelin rubber early on? It's a cool day, so tyre temperature is going to be less of an issue than it was even yesterday. Fight for 5th continues. Patak from Menchaca, and then Damiano Fioravanti. The Italian Fioravanti's had an up and down year. Multiple trips to the podium, compounded by a lot of bad luck along the way as well. But Fioravanti not close enough to challenge Menchaca this time round. Vasily Romanov behind, might be near enough to threaten Tatiana Calderon on the brakes towards turn 1. This is the battle for 8th and 9th. Then in 10th place, Tanat Sethian Thirikul, doggedly defending from Daniel Pronenko and Nikita Zlobin. So some excellent dicing all the way through the field. We've still got just about a third of the race to run. Thank you very much for joining us for this season finale, Circuits Barcelona Catalunya. And at the moment, it is looking good for Colton Herta, and a 4th victory of the season. There is the 4th place car, Dorian Boccolacci. You can see the leading trio in front of him, but Ferdinand Habsburg hasn't been able to force Colton Herta to defend much in the last couple of laps, and for whatever reason, Leonardo Pulcini just hasn't been able to stay with the leaders. The gap between Habsburg and Pulcini has opened up consistently over the last 3 laps, and it's now out to 1.2 seconds. So the Italian, if he's got the pace underneath him, then he's going to have to draw deeply on it now, because he can see the leading pair moving clear once more. Again, Colton Herta fractionally quicker than Ferdinand Habsburg by 0.06 of a second. Dorian Boccolacci fractionally slower than Leonardo Pulcini. So the leading quartet, much as they were, plenty being monitored on the pit walls. As Boccolacci tries to just get that a little bit closer to Leonardo Pulcini, try and take the benefit of the slipstream through the first sector. Identical times for the leading quartet to the nearest 1/10 of a second. And this is why Formula 3 racing is so well regarded, really, as the University of Motorsport. It's because of the pinpoint precision that's required lap after lap. And there you see the aerial on Menchaca's car, flipping from side to side as he changes direction. And this is a fantastic level of intensity and commitment from this leading duo of cars. In particular, Colton Herta has just steadily elevated his pace by fractions of a second over the last 4 or 5 laps. And this is exactly what the Carlin team will be looking for. It's exactly what teams further up the motorsport ladder are looking for, is this level of consistency and precision around one of the more technically demanding circuits on the calendar. So it means that as Herta crosses the line and completes his 13th lap of the race, his lead over Ferdinand Habsburg goes out to almost 3/4 of a second. Through the opening sequence. It's the only section on the track, turns 1 and 2, where maybe the Carlin car is moving around just a little bit more than the DriveX machine behind it. It's not somewhere that Habsburg can take any advantage, so Colton Herta retains that buffer over Ferdinand Habsburg. It comes down fractionally by 1/10 of a second, but it's certainly not enough for Habsburg to challenge. But has the Austrian got something up his sleeve? Pulcini and Boccolacci don't seem to have an answer to the pace at the front of the field. And Anthony Patak now in 5th, 10 seconds back from this group. So it really is down to Ferdinand Habsburg. Can he take this fight late on to Colton Herta? Or has the American got the pace underneath him? Has he got the consistency? He's got 3 laps to run at the end of this, the 14th lap. And at the moment, aside from that 1-2 where he got it a little bit wrong through the opening sequence that allowed Habsburg to challenge, the American has not put a wheel wrong, nor has Ferdinand Habsburg. But now, for the final time this year, Habsburg has to dig deep. So does Colton Herta. The laps are ticking away. It's just over 12 kilometres of racing to run in the 2016 campaign. Who is going to finish the season on the high with victory? Along the main straight, they both come downhill towards the braking zone at the first turn. Herta turns in, so does Habsburg. That last lap, Habsburg quicker than Herta by 0.02 of a second. They come out of turn 3 towards turn 4. Can Ferdinand Habsburg find those extra 0.3 somewhere to go onto terms with Colton Herta? Can he force the error? Leonardo Pulcini pretty secure in 3rd. Dorian Boccolacci in 4th, but again just dropping back from the leading duo. And really it is Pulcini, Habsburg and Herta who have been the standout trio of this campaign. In many respects, it's fitting that they are currently poised to look out the podium this final race of the year. Meanwhile, a big moment for Tatiana Calderon, and around she goes at turn 10, and that is going to promote Vasily Romanov and possibly 1 or 2 others. Indeed, Calderon crossing the line in 13th, to losing about 10 seconds as a result of that spin. Coming to the end of the 15th lap, Leonardo Pulcini, the 2016 Euro Formula Open champion, en route to being the Spanish Formula 3 champion as well. Just bizarre how he suddenly lost all that ground about the 5th lap of the race. It's a chance to look at the cars through the chicane. You can see the rear wings juddering. It gives an indication of just how extreme the aerodynamic forces are at work on these cars and how much the drivers are asking of the grip. 2 to go, and Herta is stretching his advantage over Habsburg once more. 0.07 of a second more of an advantage as they came across the line. Looks to be a little bit more than that, in fact. Yeah, it is. Habsburg's conceded 0.3 to Herta through that first sector, and now this is looking very good for Colton Herta and his 4th win of the season. But this has, in many respects, been the most impressive. His other three, he was able to just absolutely dominate proceedings. This time he has been under sustained pressure throughout the course of the race. And Ferdinand Habsburg is running out of time now. He's got 1.5 laps to try and chase down the second to Colton Herta. That is a huge ask, particularly on tyres that are probably well past their best now. But what can the Austrian do? Can he push on? Can he close up to create one more opportunity? It's not looking likely at the moment. And really, it feels like it's going to come down to Herta making a mistake rather than Habsburg being able to close that gap. And at the moment, Herta is driving with pinpoint precision as he accelerates through the final turn, heads in to the final lap of the season. Ferdinand Habsburg chasing him down the start and finish straight. 4.4 kilometres of racing remain. 9/10 of a second to try and be bridged by Ferdinand Habsburg. Feels like a very big ask given the way that this race has unfolded as Herta navigates the opening complex without any drama. So does Habsburg. Pulcini runs a little bit wide and he's going to be slow up into turn 3 as a result, but he doesn't lose enough ground for Boccolacci to start threatening him into turn 4. There is Dorian Boccolacci. It's been a fine weekend for the Teo Martin Motorsport man on his Euro Formula Open debut. He's not close enough to Pulcini to threaten, and Habsburg not close enough to Colton Herta to really threaten either. It's climbing out of turn 8 now for Colton Herta. Ferdinand Habsburg, one last push to bridge the gap, but he's too far adrift as they head towards the braking zone at turn 10. That's really the last bona fide overtaking point on the track, and Herta not even threatened. The gap down by 1/10 of a second, but that doesn't mean a huge amount, as Herta is now just 3 corners away from the checkered flag. Squirts out of turn 12, downhill through turn 13. The chicane doesn't present any issues, so it's just the last corner. Habsburg is closing, but it's not going to be enough, and Colton Herta heads through the final turn. He sees the checkered flag and claims a victory in the finale of the Euro Formula Open season for the Carlin team. He and the team's 4th win of the year. Ferdinand Habsburg takes 2nd, and Leonardo Pulcini completes the podium, and with that takes the Spanish Formula 3 title. Dorian Boccolacci across the line in 4th, and then Anthony Patak claims 5th ahead of Diego Menchaca. Damiano Fioravanti and Vasily Romanov's 8th place allows him to complete the rookie podium. The DriveX team celebrate on the pit wall, so do Carlin. Both squads have had an excellent campaign, and that was such impressive driving from Herta and Habsburg, the intensity of their fight and the consistency of the performance. But it is Colton Herta who wins the final race of the year, and he can savour the slowing down lap as he returns to Parc Fermé. It's been an excellent season of racing in the Euro Formula Open, and once more uncovering some potential stars of the future. Let's have a look then at the classification for the final race of the year. Herta wins it from Habsburg with Pulcini to complete the podium, then Dorian Boccolacci, Anthony Patak from Diego Menchaca, Damiano Fioravanti, Vasily Romanov completing the rookie podium behind Herta and Habsburg in 8th, clear of Tanat Sathian Thirikul and Nikita Zlobin finishing his year in the points. Julio Moreno making good progress from the back row of the grid to 11th, and Tatiana Calderon spinning away her chances late on to 12th to finish ahead of Javier Lovera and Golhaizen Abdullayev. Disappointment though for both Kevin Andres and the Mayor Vaidinathan. We lost them early on in proceedings. So a final check of the Euro Formula Open classification. Pulcini, the deserving and dominant champion, from Ferdinand Habsburg, our rookie champion and 2nd overall. Colton Herta 3rd in the standings. Diego Menchaca doing enough for 4th from Damiano Fioravanti. And now Colton Herta can celebrate with the donuts in front of the grandstand over at turn 10. He is enjoying this, and it is well worth noting that he has won half of the races in this second half of the season. And surely Colton Herta, like Leonardo Pulcini and Ferdinand Habsburg, is going to be a driver to follow as his career progresses, with former Euro Formula Open champion Ed Jones on the cusp of an IndyCar drive for next season. It's a series that can help propel the drivers all the way to the very top of the international motorsport ladder. So Pulcini to a stop in Parc Ferme. Only the second weekend of the season where the Italian has failed to register a victory. Colton Herta pulls into Parc Ferme. He can see the parking place designated number 1. He comes to a halt and celebrates his 4th win of the Euro Formula Open season. Out of the car jumps the American. He's very happy with that, and rightly so. Real high-intensity race for Colton Herta. Huge amount of pressure from Ferdinand Habsburg. And he goes to weigh-in. We'll be able to hear from our race winner fairly shortly before they head up for the final round of podium celebrations for the 2016 campaign. We will be back next year, starting in Estoril on the last weekend of April. 29th and 30th of April we'll start the campaign in Estoril, before once more having a full season racing around some of the top circuits in Europe. But for now, drivers can reflect on the 2016 season and savour these moments of victory in Parc Ferme in Barcelona. And after maybe the frustration of yesterday for Colton Herta, victory today, the best way to respond.
Colton Herta, the best way to finish a season is by winning a race.
Yeah, of course. You know, we came together this weekend, a P2 in the first race and a win in the second race to top it off. It's been an amazing year, and I'm very thankful for Carlin.
Good season, huh?
No, yeah, 4 wins. I don't know how many podiums, but 5 poles. It's been an amazing year, and we've really come on strong at the end of the year. I'm excited to see what next year brings.
What's next?
Oof, can't say yet. Can't say yet. Next few weeks you'll find out.
Thank you. Well done. Podium now.
So Colton Herta heading up to the podium. Take a look back then at the best of the last race of the season. Off the line, it was Pulcini who made a lightning start, and he was able to threaten Habsburg as they headed towards the first sequence. As Habsburg defended from the Italian, it meant that he was slow into the apex of the first corner, and that gave Herta the opportunity to challenge as they climbed up towards turn 3. As Pulcini tried to break clear, behind there was some great dice from Daniel Pranenko, pushing his way up through the order. But then Pulcini had a problem somewhere. He slowed, was passed by both Herta and Habsburg, and then we were treated to a to and fro tussle, as behind there was some good scraps, although Tatiana Kuldrum spinning away her chances under pressure from Vasily Romanov. Well, at times Habsburg looked like he was really going to threaten the American, and other times it was slightly less likely. But as the pair of them flew in tandem, they eased away from Pulcini and Dorian Boccalacci. So it's a 4th win of the season for Colton Herta. He triumphs in Barcelona. Ferdinand Habsburg finishing a close second, and Leonardo Pulcini completing the podium in the year that's taken him to the Euro Formula Open crown. Celebration for Colton Herta in Parc Ferme. So final roster of the year. Third place for Leonardo Pulcini. Runner-up and a big smile from Ferdinand Habsburg. And onto the top step once more, Colton Herta and the Carlin team. And Trevor Carlin up to receive the spoils on behalf of the squad. So the American national anthem in honour of Colton Herta, triumphant in the final Euro Formula Open race of the year. And it is the three principal protagonists from the 2016 campaign on the podium at champion Leonardo Pulcini. Third place, maybe this one that got away, but nonetheless, he has been the dominant driver more often than not this season. Ferdinand Habsburg, runner-up. It's been a great year for the Austrian driver. 2 wins and a plethora of trips to the rostrum. And Colton Herta, heading into the second half of the year, has been blindingly fast, and he celebrates a 4th win in 8 races since the summer break. And the Carlin team, very impressive on their entry to the Euro Formula Open this season. So the drivers pose the pictures, and then it'll be time to make merry with the bubbly for the final time this year before we turn our attention to the rookie podium. For Habsburg, Herta and Pulcini soak the mechanics, soak each other, and celebrate on the podium in Barcelona. 3 drivers well worth watching for as their careers progress up the motorsport ladder. So thank you very much for joining us this season for the Euro Formula Open. We will see you in Estoril next year. Until then, it's goodbye from Barcelona. Rookie podium time and 3rd place for Vasily Romanov, joined by runner-up Ferdinand Habsburg and rookie trophy and race winner Colton Herta. As ever, the class of 2016 in the rookie category proving to be very strong. Vasily Romanov, another trip to the rookie rostrum, very impressive in the 4 races that we've seen him in this year, making a strong pairing in the Drivex squad with Ferdinand Habsburg. Habsburg celebrating another rookie podium, and thanks his mechanics, Colton Herta, pretty much perfect performance today. So he celebrates again on the top step of the podium in Barcelona. The Euro Formula Open will return last weekend of April, the Estoril circuit for the start of the 2017 season. Until then, from Barcelona, Ben Evans and the entire Euroformula Open team, thank you very much for joining us this season. We will see you next year.